Hey there, everyone. We are back with more comics I read this week. I got 3 books this week. 3 things we're going to talk about. So let's hop into it. I think this isn't going to be a very long video this time. So it'll be it's one of those rare occasions where I don't have an hour video. Probably not. Whatever. So first book, El Diablo. Now I got El Diablo because I've been reading all those Jonah Hex books, and El Diablo shows up. So I got this expecting it to be like a Western. It's not. Um, the original character, Lazarus Lane, who is El Diablo in the Jonah Hex books, is in this. He's a character, but he's like in modern day, and he's like 180 years old or something. Like he's cursed by the curse of El Diablo, so he can't die. But so you get like it. He's on the back of the book here. That's the original El Diablo, and then this like new guy becomes El Diablo. So there's like a new El Diablo for this, and he's like some kind of like Mexican gang banger or something that gets crippled and becomes El Diablo. It's not that great. I didn't enjoy it that much actually. I think a lot of it has to do with like me wanting it to be a Western like the previous all the other El Diablo stuff I've read, and it wasn't. It's kind of like a modern day kind of like gang drug trafficking. Intergang is in here also. It's not. I mean, it looks good and everything. I like the art. I think it looks all right. It's very like, you know, heavy with the shadows. It's good. I don't mind that. I think it looks all right. Like, I mean, those are some nice pages. But this is another thing. The freedom fighters show up. And you guys know I love the freedom fighters. But, El Diablo kind of like schools Uncle Sam here. And then like, it's not exactly what you'd expect. So like, not so hot. I don't think there's more of these. There might be, but I'm not like even remotely gonna think about ordering them or anything. So like, I mean, not so great. So next we've got Gotham by Midnight, and Gotham by Midnight, it's low key awesome. Like it's really good. I really enjoyed this. So like Gotham by Midnight is basically like how would I put it? It's like the cops who do supernatural cases. So like, well, okay. First, let me tell you, I love this art. I like the art for this book a lot. It's like really nicely colored. The art is kind of like cartoony, but not in a horrible way. So like sometimes you get cartoony art and it's like it looks like it's like straight from Tumblr. But this doesn't. It looks really good. Like look at that page. That's a good page. Come on. So like the art isn't like like a standard DC comic art, but it's still like put together in a really nice way. It's colored nicely. It's like got a real nice kind of tone to it. Like these monsters are all pretty cool. And like it's not just that, like, you'll find okay, there's recognizable characters in here too. So like characters you might recognize. Well, like Jim Corrigan is the main cop in this, so like there's the Spectre. I'm glad that they've brought back Jim Corrigan as the Spectre. Because I wasn't too keen on the Crispin Allen being the Spectre, and maybe it's just because like I didn't read some good stuff by him, like with Crispin Allen. It's like I read like a couple of things with the Spectre, and like I actually kind of like the character that's not the Spectre in that case. Like like when he was the Spectre, it wasn't fun, but like him as just a detective was fun. But like a Batman shows up in this a couple of times. Like, let me see if I can find a Batman. But I think, oh, okay, here's like Batman and the fighting this giant thing in the air. So like there's a Batman on this side here. But he like blows up this big thing with a bat wing. It's kind of cool. This monster is like fighting the Spectre. It's like a kaiju battle, like something out of Ultraman or something, because they're like fighting over Gotham in a big, here you go. This like giant monster versus the giant Spectre. It's a cool book. This is like, I really enjoyed this. I got it because like someone was saying, you know, like I read the description for it and I was like, hey, I kind of like all the DC magic supernatural stuff, so I'm gonna pick that up. And I got the first book of this and I thought, yeah, I'll check it out. And it's really good. Like there's only two collected volumes of this. I don't think this series lasted that long. Must not have been popular. But the first half, great. I would have bought this regularly if I were buying regular comics. But I'll get the second book of this eventually. Probably sooner rather than later. And third book here is Before Watchmen. It's gigantic. It's like 1,000 pages. So Before Watchmen basically goes through a bunch of stories from various characters in the Watchmen. So you've got 6 issues of the Minutemen, which is like, you know, the group of characters before the Watchmen. So like you've got the original Night Owl and like the Hooded Justice and the Comedian, briefly. Like Silk Spectre, the original Silk Spectre. So, and then like what was this flying moth guy? But other, you know what it is. And then you have a Silk Spectre miniseries, Comedian miniseries, a Rorschach miniseries, Dr. Manhattan miniseries, Night Owl, and Ozymandias. So you've got, oh wait, but no, it's not just that though, because there's Dollar Bill also has like a one shot, and Moloch. So Moloch has like a two issue thing. Plus, I guess, like at the end of like the first 2/3 of the book, there's like 2 pages at the end of each story. That's like the Crimson Corsair story. It's a pretty good story. I've seen people not like it, but so let's go through these. We've got, these are printed not in like, they're not like 6 issues of the same thing all together. It's kind of like put out in order of release. So you'll get like, I think it starts with the Minutemen or maybe the Comedian. Okay, it starts with the Minutemen, and then like your next issue is Silk Spectre. So it just kind of goes in order, and like alternates between them. So it's like Minutemen, Silk Spectre, Comedian, Night Owl, Ozymandias, Minutemen 2, Silk Spectre 2, Comedian 2, Night Owl 2, Ozymandias 2, and then like you've got Rorschach 1 in there, and Dr. Manhattan 1, and then back to Minuteman 3. So like it switches all over the place, but it collects all of these Before Watchmen things. And I love Watchmen, and I liked most of these. Let's see. I really like the Minutemen story. It's like, it's kind of like a nice take on like Golden Age heroes. And these are like, it goes like into more in depth about like this kind of way the Minutemen started and who was like serious and who was not, and like how they started. And it's like, like it's pretty cool. The art is like pretty old style. It looks like a kind of like, here, if you can, it's hard to see because this book is heavy. It's like but like the art is not exactly the same kind of art as the other books, right? So it's more kind of classic comic looking. Darwin Cook is doing these, but it's got a really good story. I liked looking at the other characters, the previous characters, and who, like, the things they were doing and stuff. You're gonna get more information about each one of them in ways that are like unexpected, so it's kind of cool. And then you have Len Wein. wrote the Crimson Corsair story here. It's like 2 pages at the end of each one. It's kind of like a pirate horror story. It's good. I I really enjoyed Crimson Corsair in this. Like, I kind of wish they had just collected them all into one, like, just put it in the back of the book, like, all of them together. Because, like, it would have been nice to be able to read them all just in one straight shot. But I guess it's not the ideal. Silk Spectre was the next one in order. You can see the art is different. So, like, you get some different kind of art for this. This happens in the 60s, so it's kind of a little, different. But it's like daughter and mom issues. And, I didn't like the Silk Spectre one as much because, like, it's less grounded than the Minutemen story that came before it. And more, it's like the least, I feel like it's like the least kind of realistic one out of all of them. It's kind of a little goofy. It's not like funny in a way, like goofy. It's more like, like she gets in fights and stuff and it doesn't seem realistic. It seems like a little off. I don't know. But next you have the Comedian. The Comedian one is like really interesting because it goes through like a long period of time. So like each issue is like years and years apart. So it's pretty interesting because you kind of get to see the Comedian going from like kind of sociopath to kind of psychopath. Basically, that's basically it. The Comedian is never a likable fellow. But continuing on, we got Ozymandias, and like the Ozymandias story, I want to show you the art because it's totally different from the other ones, but also like it's done by Jay Lee. It's like got these really fine kind of lines. It's more like classically drawn. It's nice. It looks good. I feel like I like the way it looks. It's like very different. And I like the Ozymandias story because it gives you like a little bit more of a background of him. And like, again, he's like, these are not, his is like totally like a comic book story, right? His is like way more comic booky than the other ones, but it's not done in a kind of way that's unrealistic. It's just like, this is the kind of thing that can only happen in a comic book. Whereas Silk Spectre's was like, this is something that doesn't usually happen anywhere. It's just not as good as the others. I feel like out of all of these, probably the Silk Spectre one was the worst for me. And that's not saying it was bad. I didn't not enjoy it. I didn't think it was great. The Comedian one was all right. I really liked the Night Owl story. Night Owl is like teaming up with Rorschach. He teams up with, if you remember, there's like one scene in the book where, in the original Watchmen, where like they're in the owl cave or whatever, and they find like, they find a picture of like a woman signs to Night Owl, and he's like, oh, I should have gotten rid of that. But like, actually, like, you get the whole story behind how he got that photo and stuff. It's actually pretty interesting, and you get like a good origin. So I really liked that story. But here, the Rorschach story is different. So this one takes place in the 70s, maybe. It's like in dirty old kind of New York. I like the setting. You can see the art is way different in the Rorschach story, but like, the Rorschach story is not like, it's not a fun read because you don't think of Rorschach, like usually you think of Rorschach like kind of being a badass, but it's it's just like his story is just him constantly being beaten to death. Throughout the thing, he's just like, it's not that great. Like I didn't hate the Rorschach story. I know a lot of people really liked it for some reason, but I I wasn't into it as much. I didn't think it was so great. I didn't think it was like stupendous. It's not the kind of Rorschach story I wanted. You know, you want Rorschach doing Rorschach stuff, but he like barely gets to. It's kind of like, you know, it's got an alright ending though. Like by the end I was like enjoying it, but like it started off like in a way that I wasn't like too keen on. Let me try to think of what other ones are there. Silk Spectre we've talked about, Crimson Corsair, The Comedian, Night Owl. That was really good though. Night Owl was one of my favorites out of this. More Rorschach. Oh, there's like those side ones. So like the Moloch story. Let's see if I can find Moloch in here. Here you go. There's the cover. Moloch the Magician. So that's a pretty nice cover, actually. It's basically the origin story for Moloch and how he gets used by Ozymandias in the end. So the first issue is more like Moloch as his origin, like how he grew up, how he became like a crime boss. And then it moves on to like him in jail. He gets out of jail. Ozymandias saves him. Next issue, right? And then you get to see like what he did for Ozymandias and how he ended up. So that was a good story. I like the Moloch story a lot, actually. It's only 2 issues. It's a short one. And then you have like the only other one I think that we haven't talked about is the Dollar Bill story, which where is that? Oh, here it is. The Dollar Bill story is another one that's similar to the what's it called? Okay, when I was saying like this Silk Spectre one is the goofiest, I was wrong. The man, the Dollar Bill story is the goofiest. So like, I mean, it's goofy in like a real goofy way, like literally goofy. Like he's like doing this singing and dancing thing, and then he just like he's auditioning, and then they're just like, yeah, you're terrible, get out of here. And then like he gets hired by like a group that's like Misters Howe, Cheatham, and Dewey. It's like that classic kind of like you know, what's your lawyer's office? It's Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. It's like a 1920s joke, but it's in here. I don't know why, but there it is. It's goofy. Like they look like miniature 1920s Jewish stereotypes. I don't know what they are, but like, you know, basically Dollar Bill is like a clown and he dies. It's kind of it. But overall, like, this was a really good book. I enjoyed reading this. I read it over a long period, a couple of weeks, where I was just like reading 1 or 2 stories. And then I'd read something else and come back to this. And it, you know, overall, it was pretty good. And I'm regretting saying that this was going to be a short video at the end now, because now it's like almost 20 minutes. But yeah, that's going to be it for this Before Watchmen. So this is what I read this week: Before Watchmen, Gotham by Midnight, and El Diablo. So yeah, that'll be it. I will be back next week with totally different stuff to talk about. So yeah, see you next time.